Have you ever wondered how those stunning professional websites are built? Do you want to create your very own website that stands out from the crowd? If yes, then you're in the right page, because in this channel we build up junior developers to senior developers with the aim of coding with confidence and landing your dream job. In today's episode, we're going to take you through a step-by-step process on how to create a front page website using just HTML and CSS. No prior experience needed. So by the end of this video, I guarantee you will have a fully functional page ready to be shared with the world. You won't just walk away with a front page website, but with a skill you can reuse and build on for future projects. So watch throughout this video because I'll be sharing some tips and shortcuts the professional developers use. And if you want the source code to this project, the link is in my description box. So if you're ready to level up your skills, hit that subscribe button and let's get started. Now these are the images we're going to use for this project, a BG image and a list of icons. Within the body tag, the first thing we're going to do is to create a div with a class name of main. Within the main, we're going to insert a nav, which is going to be our navigation. Now we're going to create a div with a class name of logo, which is going to hold our logo. For the logo, it's going to be a text of Code Dev Academy. For the Academy, we're going to highlight it using a span. Now below the logo, we're going to create on other list items, which the first one, we're going to link it to nothing and give it a text of home. We're going to copy it and we're going to paste it 5 times. For the second text, we're going to change it to about. For the third text, we're going to change it to service. For the fourth one, we're going to change it to design, and the fifth one is going to be help. Now, when we're done with the unordered list items, we're going to come below it and create a div with a class name of search, which is going to contain our inputs. For the type, I'm going to leave it to be text, but I'm going to create a placeholder, which is going to have a text of type to search. I'm going to come below it and create a button. The button is going to have a text of search. Now we need to style this our navbar. We head to the CSS and we're going to give it a universal styling. The first thing we do is to give it a margin of 0, a padding of 0, and the box sizing is going to be border box. We're going to make it to have a font family of system UI. And we want all our links to be text decoration of none, because we don't want underline. For the list style, we're also going to make it to be none. And outline is going to be none also. Now we're going to target the main, which contains our navbar. We head back to the CSS and target the main. The first thing we're going to give for the main, we're going to give it a height, which is going to be 100 VH. We want it to have a background, but first we're going to give it a linear gradient, which for the first 2 colors is going to be black. We're going to drop the opacity to be 0.5. So as the second color, we're also going to drop it to be 0.5. Now we're going to put comma and give URL, and we're going to select an image, which is going to be our BG image. After it, we're going to give it a no repeat, which is going to have the image not to repeat multiple times. Now the reason we give it a linear gradient is because we want the image to have a dark layer on it. The 2 colors we use is going to have the image to have a dark layer. Now we're going to give it a background size, which is going to be cover. Then we're going to give it a background position. For the background position, we're going to make it to be center. Now the main focus of the image is going to be in the center. We're going to make it to be position of relative, because we're going to adjust some things based on position of absolute. Now we're going to target the nav, which contains our logo, list items, and inputs. We want the nav to consume 100%. And then we're going to give it a padding, which is going to be 10 pixels spaced from the top and bottom and 25 pixels from the left and right. For the background color, we're going to make it to be transparent. And we're going to make it to be display flex. Now our logo, list items, and inputs are going to be flex items. So we're going to give it an align of center. And justify content is going to be space between. Now we're going to target our logo here. Back to our CSS. We're going to say nav and we're going to say .logo. We're going to give the logo to have a font size of 1.5 rem. And for the font weight, it's going to be bold. We want the logo to have a text color of white. And when you hover, we want the cursor to be pointer. We're going to give it a transition of 1000 milliseconds because we're going to have an hover effect on it. Are you tired of your clunky, outdated keyboard? Do you want to elevate your typing experience? Well, look no further because today I bring to you a Keychron K8 Pro. It's their first ever wireless mechanical keyboard that boasts premium aluminium frame. It has wireless connectivity that connects up to 3 different devices via Bluetooth 5.1 for seamless switching between devices, either your computer, your phone, or your tablet. The battery life is something else. It has a long battery life that provides up to 300 hours of usage with the backlight off, ensuring extended use without frequent charging. If you're interested in checking out more information about this product, the link is in the description of this video, or check my bio, you find the link there. And please take note, this is not a sponsored video, but an affiliate. So when you purchase something actually out of this product, I get a commission out of it, which is also a way of supporting my channel. So please, if you're interested in checking out more about this product, the link is in the description of this video, or check my bio. So with that, now let's head back to our video. Now we come below it and target our span, which is the academy that we highlighted it using span. And we're going to change the color to be having a different color. Now we're going to target the logo and give it an hover. So when you hover, we're going to give it a transform scale, which is going to be 1.1. Now in our browser, this is what we're having here. So now we head back to our CSS. We're going to target our UL. The first thing we're going to give it, we're going to make the list items to be display flex because now they are block items. And we're going to give a space between them, which we're going to use gap, and it's going to be 3 rem. Now we're going to target each of the list items. The first thing we're going to do is to give it a font weight, which is going to be bold. For the font size, we're going to make it to be 1 rem. And the color of the text, we're going to make it to be white. Now, when we hover on the text, we want the color of the text to change, which we are going to give it a different color. Now, in our HTML here, we're going to target our input. So we're going to give it enough, and we're going to target the input. The first thing we do is to give it a padding, which is going to be 5 pixels space from the top and bottom and 15 from the left and right. For the background color, we're going to make it to be transparent. And the color of the text is going to be white. For the border of this input, we want it to be 1 pixel solid, and it's going to be having this kind of light color. And for the font weight, we're going to make it to be bold. Now, in the HTML here, we're going to target the button. So we're going to give it enough and target the button. The first thing we do for the button, we're going to give it a padding. For the padding, we're going to make it to be 6 pixels space from the top and bottom and 25 from the left and right. And for the background, we want it to be having a light color. We want the color of the text in the button to be white. And for the cursor, it's going to be pointer. For the border of the button, we're going to make it to be none. Now, we're going to target the top right radius of the button and the bottom right radius of the button, which both we're going to make them to be 4 pixels. Now, in our browser, this is what we have in here. Now, back to our CSS here. In our button, we want the input and the button to be very close. So we're going to give it a margin left to be -5 pixels, which is going to bring them together. Now, we want when you hover on the button, we want some changes to happen, which is going to be the background color, which we want the background color to be white. And we want the text color to change to black. Now, if you check our browser, this is what we have in here. Now we go back to the HTML and add some structure to it. We're going to create a div with a class name of content. And take note, the content div is within our main div. Within the content div, we're going to create a h1, which is going to have a text of web design. Then we use the break tag to break it, and we insert the next word to be in a span. Then we use the break tag to break it again, and we insert the next word, which is course, which is web design and development course. That's the text. Now below it, we're going to create a paragraph also, which is going to contain a lorem text, just like this. Below it also is a button, which is going to have a text of search. Now back to the CSS and start styling this content div. We're going to target it in the CSS. So the first thing we're going to do for this content div, we're going to give it a position of absolute. We're going to make it to be having a top, which is 20% space from the top. From the left, it's going to be 5%. And with the maximum width we want it to consume is 600 pixels. We're going to use padding also, which is 10 pixels space from the top and bottom, 30 pixels space from the left and right. Now we're going to target the h1 in our content div, which we're going to give it a font family, which is Arial. Now we want it to have a font size. And for the font size, we're going to make it to be 2.5 rem. For the font weight, it's going to be bold. We're going to give the text to have a color of white. And we're going to use letter spacing also, which we're going to make it to be 5 pixels. For the line height, we're going to make it to be 50 pixels. Now, in our browser, this is what we have in here. Now, we're going to target the h1, which we have a span in it. What we want for the span, we're going to change the color to have a different color. Now, this is what we're having. Now we're going to target our paragraph, which contains our lorem text. Give it a content and target the paragraph. The first thing we want for the paragraph, we're going to change the color to be white. And for the font size for this paragraph, we want it to be 0.9 rem. The font weight is going to be 700, which is bold. For the padding, we're going to make it to be 10 pixels space from the top and bottom and 0 from the left and right. The line height is going to be 20 pixels. Now, in our HTML here, we're going to target our button. So back to the CSS. We're going to give a content and target the button. The first thing we're going to do for the button, we're going to give it a padding, which is 10 pixels space from the top and bottom and 45 pixels from the left and right. For the background color of the button, we're going to insert a color. And for the border, we're going to make the button to have a border of none. We want the edges of the button to be curved, so we're going to give it a border radius of 4 pixels. We want the button to have a space from the top, which is 10 pixels. And for the cursor, it's going to be pointer. So we're going to make the transition to be 1000 milliseconds ease. We want the color of the text in the button to be white. And for the font size of the text, it's going to be 1 rem. For the font weight, it's going to be bold. Now we're going to target the content, then the button, then we give a hover. We want the opacity to drop to 0.8 when you hover on the button. And we want some movement to happen on the button, which we're going to give a transform scale to be 1.2. Now when you hover, this is what is happening. For the font weight for the paragraph, we're going to make it to be 600, which is a little bit bolder now. Now in the HTML here, we're going to create a div with a class name of form, which is going to have our login form. Within it, first we're going to insert a h1, which is going to have a text of login here. Then below it is a div with a class name of input box, which is going to contain our input. For the type, we're going to use email, and we're going to give it a placeholder, which is going to be enter your email. Now we're going to create another input box with the same class name, but this one is going to be password. And it's also going to have a placeholder with a name enter your password. Now below this div, we're going to create a button. For the button, we're going to put a link inside, link it to nothing, and give it a text of login. Now we head to our CSS and style this form. We target the main and specified on the form, which we give the width of the form to be 300 pixels. And then we are going to position the form, which we're going to use position of absolute and give it a top of 15% space from the top. From the right, we're going to give it a space of just 5%. We're going to give the background color of the form to be black. And we're going to use padding for the form, which is going to be 25 pixels space from the top and bottom and 20 pixels from the left and right. We're going to give the form to have a border of none. And for the border radius, because we want the edges to be curved, we're going to say 0.5 rem. Now we're going to target the h1. We're going to say .form and we're going to target the h1. First, we're going to change the color of the h1. Then we're going to give the h1 to have a background color, which is white. We're going to give the form to have a weight, which is 100%, which is going to consume full weight of the form. And for the padding, we're going to make it to be 15 pixels space from the top and bottom and 30 from the left and right. We're going to give it a font size of 1.1 rem, and the font weight is going to be bold. We're going to give it a font family, which is going to be Arial. And the text align is going to be center. Now the text is going to be in the center. And the border is going to be none. For the border radius, because we want the edges to be curved, we're going to say 5 pixels. And from the top of the h1, we want space. So we're going to give it a margin top of 0.5 m. In our browser, this is what we have in here. Now back to the CSS. Now we're going to target the input box, which contains our email input and our password input. Now we target it in the CSS. The first thing we're going to do for it, we want each input to have a space from the top, which is 0.8 rem. Now we're going to target the input itself. The first thing we're going to do, we want it to consume 100% of the body, which is 100% of the parent container, which is the form. And for the background, we're going to make it to be transparent. We want the size of the text and the input to be 0.8 rem. And the font weight is going to be bold. The color of the text, we want it to be white. And the border is going to be none. We're going to target the bottom border. So because of that, we're going to say border block end, which is 1 pixel solid, then we give it a gray color. Now this is what we have in here. Now we're going to target the button. So in our CSS here, we're going to give it a .form, then we target the button. The first thing we're going to do for the button, we're going to give it a width of 100%. And for the padding, we're going to make it to be 10 pixels space from the top and bottom and 30 from the left and right. We're going to give the button to have a background color. And for the border of the button, it's going to be none. Because we want the edges of the button to be curved, we're going to give it a border radius of 5 pixels. And for the margin top, it's going to be 2em. For the cursor, it's going to be pointer. Because we want, when you take hover on it, we want the cursor to appear. Now we're going to target the text in the button, which we're going to give the text to have a font size of 1 rem. And we want the text to be bold. And for the color of the text, it's going to be black. Now we want, when you hover on the button, we want some changes to happen. So because of that, we're going to make the opacity to be 0.9. Now when you hover, the opacity is dropping a little bit. Now back to the CSS. In the HTML here, just below it, we're going to create a div with a class name of info. The first thing in the info, we're going to insert a paragraph. But first, we're going to give the paragraph a name, which is going to be ACC. Then we're going to insert a text in the paragraph, which is don't have account. Now, below the paragraph, we're going to insert a link, which is we're going to link it to nothing. And we're going to put a text inside. And the text is going to be in a span, which is sign up. Then outside the span, we're going to insert a text, which is going to be here. Now below it is also another div with a class name of social, which is going to contain our social icons. And our social icons are images. So we're going to insert the first image, which is our Facebook PNG. We're going to copy it and we're going to paste it. Because we have 4 icons, we're going to paste it 4 times. The second icon is going to be X. The third icon is going to be YouTube. The fourth icon is going to be user. Now back to CSS, let's add flesh to this our skeleton that we just inserted. Now the first thing we're going to do in the CSS, we're going to target the info div. Now we're going to give a space from the top, which is going to be 10 pixels. And we're going to make it to be display flex. And align items is going to be center. And for the flex direction is going to be column. Now we're going to give a gap of 0.7 rem. Below it now, we're going to target the ACC paragraph. The first thing we're going to do for it, we're going to give it a color, because we want the color of the text to be white. Then we're going to give it a font size. For the font size, we're going to make it to be 1 rem. Then a font weight, which the font weight we're going to make it to be bold. Now we're going to come below it and target the link in our info div, which we're going to give it a color of white. And we're going to give it a font size to be 0.9 rem. And for the font weight, we're going to make it to be bold. Now in the HTML here, we're going to target now our span. As you can see, our link has a span. So now we're going to target the info, target the A, and give a span. For the span, all we want is make it to have a different color. Now we're going to target our social icons, but first we're going to target the social div. We're going to give it a margin of top to be 0.7 rem, and the width is going to be 100% of the form. And we're going to make it to be display flex. Now our images are going to be flex items. For the justify content is going to be space between, and we're going to give a padding. For the padding is going to be 5 pixels space from the top and bottom and 30 from the left and right. Now we're going to target the image itself. The first thing we're going to give it a width, which the width is going to be 25 pixels, and the height is also going to be 25 pixels. We want the icons to be cycled, so we're going to give it a border radius of 50%. Then we're going to give it a cursor of pointer, and a background color is going to be white. Now from our browser, this is what we're having here as the output. Now we're going to add a hover effect on it, which we're going to target our image and give it a hover. Now, when you hover on it, we want some box shadow to appear, which we're going to give it a 10 pixel blur, and we're going to insert a color. This is what we're having as the output. Now, our logo is set, our list items is good to go, so as our output. Our content is ready, and our form is in a good shape. So with that, we have come to the end of this tutorial. If you want the source code to this our project that we just worked on, I'll put a link in the description box. You'll find the code to our past project and to this project that we just designed right now. And for the future ones that I'm going to post, I'll also put the code there. And if you have enjoyed this video, please like the video. And if you want to join us in exploring the world of web development, then don't forget to subscribe to the channel. If you want to learn how to create more designs, there's a card here showing all over the screen. Just pick one, and I believe it's going to be helpful to you. See you in my next video. Thanks for watching.